FCC, that's what it is. FCC 922 or whatever she is in the way back. Now that's an interesting conversation because car technology into the early, I like to play them, the memetics on Dr. Funtertainment. It keeps you compliant, drinking beer for the old schooler with his feet up on the lazy boy. I am down with that calc because when you understand it as a singular movement at the tomb, they're happy to lay in their plot over there in Hancock. A lot of them are because that's settled up to a house. I'm not trying to compete with the bit farming tech, and there's a realistic number that's above the 15 line. That's just this really nice, sweet place to play gravity because it's hard to get in trouble, and it's just you can work. That can be out of most products. You can take that out of any product and find that on a position of a job. So when you look at guys like Elon in terms of their battery factor, it's hard to argue. If you can take the Air Force for pad time, you're going to start to compete with NASA's best scientists in terms of engineering in general. Because they couldn't compete, even if they knew the WIMP particle didn't have the full tangible idea in terms of how to compete against the military. Now, Elon, good to go. The full function of General Furnace over there at Marine Island, shit now, shave now, takes this to a whole nother level. Plus integrating prison systems and functions of this lower grade of what this function is. Because I want it to be at the highest level, A grades, competitively prime, but in a local system of the deli shop and integrating the neural networking moves of Minimax in that function. Because one, they're not there, and they need to be there, and there needs to be a program of how to isolate that science. What am I doing wrong that Elon's doing right based on the observation IH in the form of derivatives as he's breaking it down? And I'm going to repeat that process. And it's just the fact that happened. Fire happened. Lightning hit the ground. A tree and a monkey got on fire and started to run around on fire. Screaming gorilla problem. Whichever way the sound waves of the screaming fish falling over the cliff happened. Obviously, an older gorilla indulation of more than one objects happening to the true elements of how this stuff works. It gets pretty heavy. Out to 118 on the periodic table, if I'm not mistaken. At any rate, over there, to hydrogen, helium, noble gases, how differentials in density and times the quadrants of spaces of density differences work, correlated to what you should be looking at when you quantify something as in the L brackets moving erratically, doing what it does for internal lattice collisions or internal fusion, or a better process of the thermodynamics, which makes this a thermonuclear cobalt dirty bomb, salt everything. Basically, if you house the reaction in, or then you do some stuff, some fancy magic, without making it too simple. But basically, this is thermonuclear science in a different housing by elements in Pensero, because we're not using the composition, don't have a high abundancy of them. We need to transform the energy, which is going to come up direct equations on timelines about functions, about energy, the cost of that physics experiment, and recreating it in its general form and putting a little meat on it called you. And here I'm going to meet you. You're going to be this much on this stick right here for Dungeons and Dragons Salty Island, right? You get how does survival work on game theory go when you have one palm tree, a hammock. You got one palm tree, a hammock, and a bunch of no crabbies running around. You got to figure this thing out. And if you survive it, you win the game. Because essentially, when they put you out there on GameStop or ask any question, what does the FCC look at? You are on a no crabby island with one tree, right? This tells me some angles on gravity right here. Like, it's been there. That's north for sure. Here is the angles on that thing for seasons. Like, you been around. No. Coming at you. I'm getting you in the cloud, buddy. And they would be the only factors, because you would need to have the hammock to catch the crab, obviously. Put two things together, two index lines that change gravity into a level of 0 or 1. Dead crab, no dead crab. How many of those crabs I could eat in a timeline? And generally, you would say that's an equilibrium of the predator-prey algorithm of a lambda rabbit calc in this town, because to really find the population, let's backtrack science a little bit here. the town really only had so many rabbits in very specific areas where I could say those density differences even work in the form of rabbits or that form of the problem. Let's see what's taken what away from here from what version of systems. Was it coyotes this year? Is it hunting games? Was there some other neutrino factor on how those things want to increase that system, especially if it's at the high end of making business jobs on timelines, and then kind of piggybacking off of those ideas. Let's say Tesla's battery functions on timelines, literally anything you could say. So I'd say from the president's hand on the pen, what is the correlated number to what timelines would these be on indexes of things between China, and what Elon would still say go GameStop is a percentage of his Bill Gates, Warren Buffett pie to systems of where he's devoting time. Because this money share actually correlates to a say of how many people this offsets in terms of what this company will do at the end after Big Daddy Gravity comes around. FCC, Elon, Beachmaster, military, anything that on it was a private company stock thing getting into their treasure chest. Well, you shouldn't have been doing it there. There are other indexes. Maybe it's some numbers on your top end where you'd have to factor a lower end index. Now, you don't get to make that. That's a gravity Dirac's equation thing. When it's not done right, this is what happens. We are looking for incidents like this and how they compare in past on cyclical indexes, how they function to the correct model. Battery cars, technology, green, skyline, blue, nice and shiny. Going to pretty much every number is going in that direction. GameStop, same pyramid, same numbers creeping on an index of 40 something differential. And why it's still a cap on there to say I want to keep money in there. Maybe I bought it at the bottom, it's a good index, and right now it's a nice float, and I have enough money to float that in there before it bottoms back out at 40, or where it is, or at least where it should be based on the products you put out there. You would put a product where a hedge fund company necessarily wouldn't, or Elon's model moving in a speed. When I say I want to look at the far end on some broker from NSNBC and throw them in here and see how they're really factoring to that good base in gravity and physics, and how anything I could say at any of the choices and any of the amounts right here should have been the right answer from where I was to where it is here. And that is the reality of what Doomslayer is saying today to you. Give me the blue key. And that's going to factor from that direction. And so we factor on situations like that. And clearly somebody in Elon's position, it's hard to say battery factories, it's going to move in that stock market. Tomulistic versions would say who else could. And on the day with the mittens or the Chinese finger traps, when China's got me, they go, you gotta factor into the gravity as the manner on this situation to say timelines were factored on my behalf. I have to let somebody else talk, even though it's not the exact model in physics that I like right at the moment. It might correlate to GameStop's design, which it was. There was facts in there. Now I'm gonna do what I can here. But in terms of what I was looking for GameStop, I mean, sure, because I see you have gravity. It didn't necessarily mean because your company or you come out here is going to change that. You could float that back up. That helps NSNBC. That's why they've thrown you in the fire. Why not? Get out there, do the flappy chicken. It's entertainment, ridiculousness. It's going to move the ticker on the meme stock one way or the other. And we're going to find out which way that goes right here on public. And so there's no reason they can say it wasn't insider trading or anything like that. So that's the note you should be looking for. ARFCC